All right, let's talk about Lovely Deep. No, Lovely Dark and Deep.
Lovely deep.
Lovely Deep. Little Freudian
what are you
slip
thinking
there.
about?
Yeah. I mean, that could still be a reference to a vagina. The whole title is one. Okay? It's lovely.
No, it's a reference
dark,
to
and deep.
the Walt Whitman poem.
It is a
right?
reference to a vagina.
No.
No.
The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, and I've got miles to go before I sleep.
Yeah.
Is that Walt Whitman?
So, I don't. Walt Whitman.
Yeah. It's a poet.
I know. So, listen. Kaylee was very high on this documentary that we wanted to watch, and she was talking to me about it and was like, I want to watch this documentary called Missing 411. And we threw it on and we watched some of it, and then just like the same day or like the next day or something, I found this movie.
Yeah.
And it was about that. I mean, it was exactly about that. Like literally exactly.
Yeah.
Like all the things they were saying in there, the granite and the water and the shoe and all that stuff, like everything. So if you've ever heard of this Missing 411 thing, then you're going to want to see this film for sure.
If you haven't heard of Missing 411, this also applies to the film like synopsis, but basically there's a large number of people that go missing in national parks, and there's weird circumstances surrounding the disappearances.
Yeah.
And this movie is a take on that.
Yeah. We follow a park ranger, a newly hire, played by Georgina Campbell from Barbarian, as well as my favorite episode of Black Mirror, Hang the DJ. Which I was telling her, funny enough, we just reviewed Curse 4, The Ultimate Sacrifice, starring Timothy Van Patten, who directed that very episode. Yeah. So I thought it was funny that she was in this and whatever. Anyway, so she's a park ranger, and she has a sister that went missing when she was a kid.
Yeah.
And she goes out there, very Five Nights at Freddy's, and she's trying to look for her, even though she's been missing for like 20 years. But she's trying to figure out what the hell happened. She gets out there. There's a park ranger that goes missing. She fills the spot of.
Yep.
And, she goes out there and she finds out why these woods are so fucking scary. And why people go missing.
Pretty much. We
almost didn't watch this film because it has such a low rating on IMDb. And this is like one of those reasons why I almost never take it seriously unless it's in the 3s or the really low 4s, like a 4.0 or something. But I don't know, it's hard to take these things seriously because I love this.
Oh, me too.
I was a big fan of this one. I don't know what the hell people are on with this one. This is one of the coolest, in the woods, lost in the woods, trippy shit's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Movies I've watched in a while. And this was a directorial debut by Teresa Sutherland. Was that the name? She was a writer on Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
And she wrote The Wind, another horror movie, but this is her directorial debut. And I thought she did fucking great. This felt very, this kind of reminded me a little bit of the Blair Witch video game.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say kind of like the Blair Witch franchise in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see the video game. There's also a little flavor of Alan Wake, which I know we picked up on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I loved it too. I thought it was so cool. It was so creepy. It was really freaking me out at times.
Yeah.
And it's funny because one of the reasons that we sort of stopped watching the Missing 411 documentary is that I started to get a little creeped out and was like, ooh, I might get scared to go out in the woods.
Yeah.
And I think this one definitely made me even kind of scareder, more scared.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was, like you said, it's got a lot of trippy, surreal, not surreal, but trippy dream nightmarish kind of qualities to it. And I thought it was just so disturbing. And I think that they really like did a great job at setting things up, but not like over explaining anything. I love that
No,
it's still kind of,
no.
it has an ambiguous mystery, which I think is really cool because it's like a, you know, quote unquote, like a real phenomenon, a real conspiracy that people like follow and are into, and there's no like explanation that's given.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that this movie like also doesn't give a solid explanation. Like you do get a little bit of something, so it's not, you know, dissatisfying or anything.
Well,
But
and I think that's the more respectful way
I
to
do
go
too.
when we're
Yeah.
talking about real disappearances and
Mm-hmm.
real deaths. I think, it's kind of the tasteful approach is we want to give something to satiate the audience, but we don't want to give anything that's going to make it seem like in bad taste. So for me, I think they gave the perfect amount of an explanation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
because there is things that I am like still in question of, but
Right.
because we are dealing with like real events, so to speak, of people who literally went missing. And one thing I really, really appreciated about this is something I'm kind of a stickler for in my own writing whenever I do take on a project to write it, and it's based on something with lore that's like, either part of our urban legends or whatever. I really like it to be lore accurate, and for her to incorporate all of what we watched in Missing 411 with the granite areas and the water and the missing shoes and the time distortion and all that stuff. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like this person is really into this thing. They took it very seriously and found a way to very intelligently incorporate all of it in here organically.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed, and I commend them for that, because I just don't feel like enough people do it when they take on stuff like this.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think that she incorporated everything really well, and it's already like the the subject already lends itself. I mean, it is horror. It's real life horror. It's terrifying, like especially because there's so many unknowns and so much weirdness around it.
Yeah.
And so I think, you kind of have a sort of an easy job translating it into like a horror movie, of course, but and also to be clear, the cases or like the missing people in this movie, I don't think any of them are actually based on real people. Like they're fictional.
Yeah.
It's just that the scenario itself has happened to a lot of
A lot of
different
people,
and there's a lot of families that have no answers. So, but yeah, it was just really cool. It was really cool, and it's like, with movies, especially horror movies too. I guess any movie, but like when they're filmed out in nature, I it's always like so pretty and serene, and then like I feel like there's such a nice, like, you start off being like, oh, it's so
Yeah, it
calm and
catches you
so
off
nice,
guard.
and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute, it's so dangerous, oh my god. And
Yeah.
the woods have been that for humans forever,
Gives
right?
you a
Like,
false sense of security.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's just some trees, and then you're like, wait, no, it's it's not just some trees.
That's why the sirens, or the fairies, or like the beautiful woman or something that's like out where somewhere, and they're like so alluring, and then they get you in and they eat you.
Yeah.
Or like a sexy vampire guy or whatever. It's like when they take your guard down, because you're looking at nature, and during the day, and that's like the same with like the monster. It's like the monster turns to night, and it's like, oh shit, that's right, this can be terrifying, this can be dangerous. And when you're out there, I mean, there's literally like somewhere they go in this that looked like a painting.
Oh
It
my
was so
god,
surreal.
it
It
was
was like,
crazy. It was like,
whoa,
what?
why is this the
That's
most beautiful place I've
beautiful.
ever seen in my
Yeah.
life? I just was like, I was kind of caught off guard, and in that moment, you can get bewildered and be like, oh wow, like I'm so safe, I'm so this and that, and then the sun goes down, and you're like in that same place, and you're like, I am dead meat. I'm not
And
getting out of
well,
this.
and the thing too with like any nature stuff, like and this one, like, it's like very much got like paranormal, supernatural stuff going on, but like also it's so dangerous in nature even without any of that. Like, if you're,
Absolutely.
even for people who are prepared,
Absolutely.
even for people who are really like skilled outdoorsmen, like things can totally go wrong. Like, it's nature, like, there's a lot of elements out there that we're not always equipped to deal with, and especially people who are like just like your average Joe.
Yeah, I think the horror is handled very well in this.
I do too.
It definitely has a factor of like, you got some WTFs, right? You've got a lot of like um uncomfortable, lost feeling.
Disorientation and like,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. I was like, what am I trying to say here?
Yeah.
And it does that stuff very, very well.
Really well.
So yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of this one. I'm really bummed. But then again, like, this happened not too long ago with Significant Other. It was another like in the woods movie that got a lot of shit. And we ended up loving it. I don't know what
that is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at some of the reviews just to see like what people's criticisms are. My guess is that they don't like that there's not like solid answers given. Like,
the ending is definitely a little not confusing, but very much like, that I'm not sure how that lines up with the rest, because I just don't know if, that decision would be made.
I get that, yeah.
But
I get that.
I don't. It didn't bother me. I can absolutely see someone being like, "What? Because why?"
Sure. I see, but I think it's a great film. I definitely think it's a recommendation, from us.
Oh,
of course.
100%.
And I would love to see more, more work, basically.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just want to see more stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially like if she's like got like an interest in like paranormal conspiracy stuff. Like, it would be cool to see just like a string of movies that are all kind of exploring these, because I think that this one's really tackled in a very like just interesting way. And it's like you said, like, I love that it's like very lore accurate, for like the setup and everything. Like, of course it's like what's happening, who knows, nobody knows in real life either, so it's like, which could also be something that people are like complaining about in the movie, like, that's not what this really is about, like, it's the government, or it's like whatever. And that would be like dumb, because it's like, it's a movie, like, it's just like an interpretation of maybe what's going on. But the setup is very accurate, and so it would be cool to see other things set up like that too.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues. I thought
neither did I. Not cool.
At all. And it's definitely a recommendation for me. If you're a big fan of like, creepy goings-ons in the woods, and disorientation feeling, and some really heavy subject matter being explored through a character, this is definitely a win. I don't get it. We got a great actress giving a great performance and a really solid spook fest in the woods, like, based on really creepy lore that's pretty lore accurate. So I don't get the the dislike here, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So
give you our opinion.
Yeah.
So
yeah, let us know if you watch it and tell us that we're wrong and that you agree with IMDb. All right, guys.
Bye. Bye.